Hello, I'm the Nostalgia Critic guy. Remember it so you don't have to. My name is Doug Walker, and the show that I'm best known for is Nostalgia Critic. Nostalgia Critic is a character that reviews movies and shows from the past. It can be 20 years ago, or even more, even less, and also talks about current movies and shows that have a tie-in to nostalgia. So we'll talk about the new Wonder Woman movie or the new Batman movie, stuff like that. I really liked watching people like Siskel and Ebert. I really liked watching comedians like Louis Black, and I liked the idea of sort of combining all of that together with sort of a cartoony sense of humor like Daffy Duck and things like that. I was going through a nostalgic phase like a lot of people do, and my thought was, wouldn't it be funny if there was someone who saw all this old stuff that he grew up with and found it wasn't as good as he remembered it and took it personally, like was really insulted by it.
What's this? A joint?
Why does Bugs Bunny know what a joint is? Bugs Bunny shouldn't know what a joint is. If Bugs Bunny knows what a joint is, that means he knows what drugs are. If Bugs Bunny knows what drugs are, that means the rest of the Looney Tunes know what drugs are. And if the rest of the Looney Tunes know what drugs are, well, that just explains so goddamn much!
I knew I needed a visual identity, something where if you were to see me from far away, you could tell who that was. So I like the idea of a hat. I like the idea of a suit coat because I think anyone looks good in a suit coat. I would usually wear a t-shirt under it, and then when we were doing this Harry Potter event, it was the release of the final Harry Potter book, my brother said, "It's a big event. You should wear a tie." So it's not a bad idea.
There was a word, it's still kind of around, but it was very popular in the late 80s. It was called spaz. You know how puppies will just run around in circles and bark and do things for no reason whatsoever? That was kind of Doug.
I was an obnoxious little kid growing up. I was pretty dorky, pretty hyper. If you saw a picture of me, I kind of looked like Jim Carrey from Dumb and Dumber. I had sort of a Mo Howard haircut, huge glasses, buck teeth. I have no idea how I had any friends, but somehow I did. I don't know if they took pity on me or what. I loved telling stories. If there was a camera around, I love attention. I would try and grab the camera and point it at me and go, "Hello, it's the Doug Walker Show." Just very annoying. I still can't watch my old home movies. I can't do it.
I like wearing women's clothing. It is fun.
When Rob and Doug were growing up, they were highly creative, which we encourage tremendously. I mean, we are a showbiz family. I was a musician, a producer for shows in the Navy. Their mother was an opera singer. They have relatives who are, one is Dennis Poco. He does a lot of writing and reviewing of classical music. Gary Poco is with a group called New Odyssey, and they travel around the country doing what you might sort of call a Vegas lounge act. They're very, very good at it. And Doug's aunt is Bonnie Favia, and she is a local writer. So we come from a family that appreciates showbiz, and we went ahead and said to the kids, if you want to do this, it doesn't scare us. Some parents would go, no, you won't be able to. Give it a try. You're young. See what happens.
I did go to school for filmmaking, but I wasn't super serious about it. I went to Northern Illinois University, which has a program for it, but it's not well known for it.
Did I have a background in film or video, go to school for it? No. Doug did more or less. He got his degree in communications.
So I got a degree in communications just in case I didn't want to go the Hollywood route, which even kind of going into college, I knew I didn't necessarily, but I kind of wanted to give it a shot. Eventually, I realized it wasn't really for me, so I went to illustration for about a year, making a living as that. This one's mine. Actually, I put myself in there when I was younger. I'm hanging off the hand there. I don't know why. I was just an egotist even back then. These two are mine. That's obviously Wolverine. I don't know what that is, but it's cool. This one's mine. The Alice in Wonderland is mine. They actually did use that for a production, a college production. I did kind of just odd jobs here and there, whatever I could find. My biggest claim to fame was a children's vending machine called All American Chicken. Yeah, that was me. This is what they do with the majesty that is my work. They have this classical music over it, and they're just like, yeah, this is an original Doug Walker. It was fun. It was a lot of fun, but I said, but let me do this for fun, just a little side thing. And it started with these 5-second movies where I take these clips from famous movies and reduce them down to roughly 5 seconds. Like Titanic would be a clip of the guy saying, "This ship can't sink," and then you see it sink. That was it.
But this ship can't sink.
And those really caught on. People like those. And I said, well, let me see if I can be funny, like as a performer. I want to see if I could write something, if I could edit something, if I could perform something. And that's when I did Nostalgia Critic, and it just exploded from there. Hello, I'm the Nostalgia Critic. I remember it so you don't have to. Hello, I'm the Nostalgia Critic. I remember it so you don't have to. Hello, I'm the Nostalgia Critic. I remember it so you don't have to. I've been doing Nostalgia Critic 10 years, surprisingly. It's full-time work, and it is a lot of work, because you write it, you direct it, you star in it, you edit it, but it's so much fun you don't realize how much work it is, In the old days, production was just me in front of a camera shooting. Then my brother came on board to help with writing.
The first one he did, he just showed me. He's just like, "Hey, I shot this. What do you think?" And I was like, "Needs work," but he went with it anyway, and everybody liked it, so nobody listened to me. No,
all the editing is done by me, at least with Nostalgia Critic videos. I'll do like a rough outline of just getting rid of all the dead space and then edit the sketches together. And it sounds like that's not too bad, but it surprisingly takes up a lot of time, but weirdly it's my favorite part too. When I first began, I think the episodes were 10 minutes long, because that's all what was allowed on YouTube. And as it got more and more popular, I realized I could talk more about it and go into more detail, more analytical. From there, we were starting to get a little tired of it, so we knew we had to change it up a little bit to help it keep more fresh and stuff. Then it became such a big deal that we realized we kind of needed more people and we needed a location for it. We didn't want to just do our house anymore. The neighbors were asking questions. This is Channel Awesome Studio. This is the lounge area, but we also shoot a lot of stuff here. Some posters of past reviews we've done. They were done by the same guy who did our YouTube channel and our Twitter account. He does really, really cool stuff. This is usually where I film the Nostalgia Critic. It's just more open space, doesn't get as warm, doesn't get as hot. So that's really cool. Literally. Kitchen. All I gotta say about that. Here's the cool part. Everyone loves this stuff. This is the actual kind of studio portion of everything. We got all the costumes down there, tons of hats, everyone's favorite wall right here. Everyone loves this, the gun rack. Lights, puppets, Christmas stuff. I'll just leave that there to haunt your nightmares. We got a place in Lombard, and we now have a studio there. We have a green screen room. We have a place for all our costumes. We have it where the bigger reviews are now every 2 weeks, and the kind of smaller reviews / editorials are the other week. But the bigger reviews, we need more of a production on, and we will use green screen, we will use effects. And that's also where Jarosz and my dad will get together and make a lot of the props and costumes.
My name is James Jarosz. Well, most people here call me Jim. And my job here is to build and make, I guess, whatever they need me to make or build. when Doug needs like a specific prop or a costume or something like that. For Nostalgia Critic, it's always kind of like I have 3 or 4 days, at tops. And very often I only make as much as I need for that review. So it's like, this prop is going to hold up for maybe 30 seconds, because you only need it for that one joke. Probably one of the oddest requests that Doug ever gave me for a prop. He said he needed the vocal bone of a velociraptor if it was Keanu Reeves. And I was like, I have no idea what the hell that means. But
listen to this.
Hey, look! I have the vocal chambers of Keanu Reeves!
Whoa. Bogus. Pretty much anything I need, any weird ass thing I need in a couple days, he throws it together very quickly, but very cleverly too. He's very good at seeing things that he can look at an egg carton and make a spaceship out of it somehow, He's one of those guys that you can MacGyver anything. I can't, so I'm very happy to have him on board. And he's also a pretty good actor.
Darling!
I do not have a business mind at all. The person who is in charge of it is Mike Mashad. He does all the business stuff behind the scenes, because if I handle anything business related, I wouldn't be doing this for a year. All my income pretty much comes from Nostalgia Critic now. And I know that's always like one of those things where it's like, oh, it's all about the money, but when you suddenly realize you can do this for a living and this is how you're going to stay afloat is by doing what you love, it's one of the most amazing things ever. It's basically advertisements put in the video, and how many ads do you get versus how many views do you get. The more you can definitely have an audience constantly coming back to you, the more advertisers are going to find you, the more sponsorships are going to look you up as well. But it's also, we have an online store, we have DVDs, we have merchandise, that kind of stuff helps a lot. So a lot of it's pretty much advertising and merchandising. YouTube is a wonderful platform. There's no question that we've had differences in how they do things, but we always kind of went in with the idea that they are trying to go for the best route. Like I said, we just disagree on what the best route is. We initially left YouTube because back then somebody would complain about copyright infringement, they just get rid of the channel. Years later we came back because we heard it got better. It did get better, but it still was not good. The problem was that people would still come in saying this is infringing on copyright, sometimes without even watching the video. It would just be a robot or a computer or something would recognize a clip and say copyright infringement, and they would just say, okay, put a strike on the channel or whatever. If somebody came around and said, this is copyright infringement, we want the money that you're making from this, YouTube would just agree blindly and they would make the money until it was disputed. And if it's disputed and you win, they still keep the money. And this was getting really out of control to a point where one of our producers, Brad Jones, did a review of a movie where it was just him talking about the movie in a car, no clips or anything, and that got hit. So we finally brought attention to it through this idea called Where's the Fair Use, where we talked about what fair use was, how it worked, and how it's being abused by fraudulent copyright claims. That got a lot of momentum behind it. That got even YouTube to change some of their policies, which is really amazing. I mean, we had no idea it was going to have this big an impact. These are really, really big steps, and people think, oh, well, it's over. It's by no means over, but they're huge steps. And again, it does show that people are listening to reason. It's kind of spreading that reason to more and more folks who, control this stuff. I got sick after a while of looking at my own face. I mean, I know this is a gorgeous mug, but after a while, you kind of want to get a little bit more variety in there. We brought on more actors. We brought in Malcolm Ray. We brought in Tamara Chambers. They're really great because they bring their own unique style comedy to it as well. They can play all sorts of characters. They can definitely play the characters I can't play.
My favorite character. Let's see. I get this question a lot, and it always ends up changing a little bit. It's a close tie between the devil. He's very businesslike and professional. He's like a warden. And the other character is the channel awesome version of myself. Like, it's me, but it's Doug's kind of interpretation of me. Like, there'll be times, for example, where like suddenly I'm just obsessed with pumpkins, or I have a thing about oranges for some reason. Like, yeah, I love oranges. I just put them in my mouth, It's refreshing. You guys like oranges, right?
Definitely hyper fangirl is my favorite. I love how people like identify with her. I think that's really cool. But also, I do love playing the badass ones, like Wonder Woman and Furiosa or Curiosa for NC. I loved those. Because like in theater and stuff, I get cast as like the quirky best friend, and so to play like a badass is really fun. Working on NC is a lot more relaxed, I think. We like hang out outside of NC, and I genuinely really love the people I work with, and so it just runs really smoothly. Whereas other film shoots, I mean, I'm spoiled now with it, because like I'll go and I'll film something else and it'll take so long. It's like, oh, you're gonna be done at 3, and then you're out at like midnight. It's like, oh my God.
We have other shows that we put together. We have Tamara's Never Seen, which is a show just based on Tamara seeing movies that she's never watched before, because apparently she saw no movies growing up.
I started working with the NC guys, and they would always quote movie quotes at me, and I would always be like, oh, I haven't seen that. Like, what are you talking about? We gotta make this a show.
We have First Viewing, which is Rob and I watching a movie we're gonna review. We have Sibling Rivalry, which is us talking about newer movies that come out.
Sibling Rivalry is ironically named because in reality we don't really disagree that much. The problem is we grew up together and we have like similar brains, so the few times we do, it's kind of fun because we can finally like fight, but...
We have Top 5, that's Walter Banasiak's show. He'll sort of do just Top 5 Adam Sandler movies, Top 5 Stallone movies, best and worst. We have the Orbit Report, which is talking about anything sort of new in media or any geek-related stuff, sort of an update show. Basic talking head shows, but they're a lot of fun and they're very personality-based, so I feel they work really, really well.
I think that Channel Awesome wanted to expand into this new content because it's a smart business plan for them. You can only last so long if you have one show. We can expand our content, which will hopefully expand our audience. So I think it makes sense from a business perspective.
From a creative perspective, it's fun to do something different besides just, Jim building something for Nostalgia Critic. We get to do something a little bit different. And yeah, I mean, it is really smart to branch out and do a couple new shows that are going to come out every week. Yeah, I think it's really smart that they, did that. I'm really happy to have a job here. So, and if it wasn't for the extra shows, I wouldn't have the job. So, thanks for that. Yeah. The fans are a fickle bunch, Channel Awesome fans, that's for sure.
It's a universal thing that people don't like change.
Yeah.
When people see new shows with new people, at first there's a small resistance, but the thing I always find interesting is that we still consistently always have more likes than dislikes on our videos. I think the people who comment are the ones who just have stronger feelings about it, whereas we have a very strong, silent following.
There's always a backlash at first. There's always I just want Doug. Is there a way for you guys to have a separate channel and this could just be Nostalgia Critic? Because I'm sick of getting these notifications in my feed that there's a new top 5 up. God. And it's literally like that. I have a terrible... Can I read a really bad comment? Can I do that? I love doing this. It's great. You're going to have to censor this, but I'm just letting you know. Okay. I really hate this Walter. I hate his namby-pamby voice, his smug, ugly face, his slow speech, and drawn-out way of talking like we're all idiots or 5 years old, his pandering, disingenuous attitude, his disgusting soul patch that makes his face look like a target for darts. Everything about this guy makes me want to sucker punch him in his stupid, smug, condescending face with a spiked goddamn gauntlet. Holy shit, I don't think I've hated anyone immediately upon only 3 minutes as much as this puckering, lipped face stick. I have this uncontrollable urge to want to beat this swizzle with a stick and set him on fire. Jesus Christ almighty, this guy is brutally obnoxious. So that was one of the first comments I got. My soul patch really does look like a target for darts though. So that's why I don't, I should probably shave that.
That's all right.
The biggest perk of doing this, it's not even a perk. It's kind of this amazing revelation you never realize is that, I did this just for fun, just to sort of create a funny character and do some funny points of view and stuff like that. But there's a lot of people that say, like, you helped them through something. They're going through depression, or they just lost someone, or they were a soldier in Iraq or something like that. Like, people you never thought would be watching your stuff that actually rely on watching your stupid little video, just you acting like a jackass, acting silly.
People joke with each other every day, but nobody's listening to you. It's normally just you and a friend, and it's just like, oh, so like the things we find funny, other people like online find funny, and it's just good to have like a positive effect on people.
Rather than try and find that outlet for me to do something creative in a small capacity, I get to do it all the time, which is awesome. Every day I pinch myself and I'm like, I can't believe I get to go to work and this is what I get to do.
Channel Awesome has been an entity for 10 years. This will be our 10th year anniversary. And Doug did it a couple years before that. So 12 years coming out of college and doing this stuff, he's been successful at it. We'll see how long it lasts. I mean, look at Jerry Lewis, the late Jerry Lewis, who was a comedian throughout his entire life.
Like one time I was at Six Flags. Like I was just waiting in line, for a ride, for a roller coaster. And somebody said, Nostalgia Critic. I was like, huh? Yeah, he turned. Hey. And I'm like, oh, hey. It's like, it's not my name, but I'm glad you recognize me from the thing. There are those moments that are kind of weird, but for the most part, they're great.
I just love the people I work with. So like the friends that I've made on this have been really cool. And then also just like the support system behind the fans and like going to conventions especially is like the coolest thing that always like makes my month after a convention. So I think just so many things.
When I first went to one of these conventions, I saw people dressed as me, and that was surreal. Yeah, I think that's when it's finally like you're realizing this means something to people when they're willing to put their fashion sense on the line for you. Do I think of myself as being a famous person? I really try not to. And I mean that very honestly because you have to have an ego to do this kind of stuff, and one of my biggest fears is that my ego will get too big. I didn't grow up super rich, I didn't grow up, super famous or anything like that, so I think that's something that you never want to lose sight of. And, if a fan comes up and says, I want to do what you do, I always say, go for it, try it. But I always say, do it because you love it, and you'll be all the more thankful and humbled by the fact that it's a really huge opportunity, and you're super, super lucky for it. The nice thing about this is, if you were to ask me where do I see this going, I probably wouldn't say here, because the world changes and life changes, and you gotta kind of change with it, especially when you're a commentator. You're gonna just commentate on the things around you, and you don't know what's gonna happen around you, so whatever happens in the future, I'll be there to make fun of it. I'm a Nostalgia Critic guy, remember it, so you don't have to.